Matthew Cole and Jeremy Scahill of The Intercept uncovered a very disturbing story. Trump White House weighing plans for private spies to counter deep state enemies. What? Okay, so let me give you the details of this. I'm going to read you the first portion of their piece here, and it gives you a good idea of what's going on. The Trump administration is considering a set of proposals developed by Blackwater founder Eric Prince and a retired CIA officer with assistance from Oliver North, a key figure in the Iran-Contra scandal, to provide CIA Director Mike Pompeo and the White House with a global private spy network that would circumvent official U.S. intelligence agencies, according to several current and former U.S. intelligence officials and others familiar with the proposals. The sources say the plans have been pitched to the White House as a means of countering deep state enemies in the intelligence community seeking to undermine Donald Trump's presidency. The creation of such a program raises the possibility that the effort would be used to create an intelligence apparatus to justify the Trump administration's political agenda. Quote, Pompeo can't trust the CIA bureaucracy, so we need to create this thing that reports just directly to him, said a former senior U.S. intelligence official with firsthand knowledge of the proposals in describing White House discussions. It is a direct action arm, totally off the books, this person said, meaning the intelligence collected would not be shared with the rest of the CIA or the larger intelligence community. The whole point is this is supposed to report to the president and Pompeo directly. So you want your own private security forces that are not officially part of the government. They're your own group that answer directly to you. So you want your own SS, is what you're talking about here. To have the president have, a private group of this nature, what you're talking about is creating his own little mercenary security force, his own little mercenary intelligence agency, mercenary army. There's a reason these things aren't privatized. Now listen, the CIA is bad enough. They're already not accountable and beholden to the American people. We know the history of the CIA. We know how undemocratic they are and how they've toppled foreign governments to do the bidding of U.S. corporations. And they were directly involved in torturing under the Bush administration. And they're as bad as it gets already. Trump wants his own CIA to stop the subversive, agents in the CIA. And by the way, they go on to explain in this piece, they also plan on, so there are a few court cases of people who were suspected terrorists where they got off. Well, Trump's personal CIA would do rendition, would go into different countries. They give Iran as an example in the article, and others as well. Kidnap somebody who was taken off, and then bring them back to the U.S. and say, okay, now where do we hold these people extrajudicially? Where do we not give them due process and habeas corpus? So they're openly talking about, we want to create our own CIA that will kidnap American citizens, hold them indefinitely, and only answer to the president. What in the fuck? How is this on the table? And Eric Prince is directly involved. Eric Prince, for those of you who don't know, he was the founder of a group called Blackwater. Blackwater changed its name like 3 or 4 times. It was called like Z for a while, XI, and then they had to call it something else. And the reason they kept changing the name is because they are a private mercenary army that was engaged directly in the war on terror, and they massacred civilians in the Middle East and were totally unaccountable and not held up by any standards. By the way, Eric Prince is also a Christian fundamentalist. So you had a Christian fundamentalist private army in the Middle East massacring Muslim civilians. This is the guy who Trump looks at and he goes, yeah, I want the Christian fundamentalist private army guy to create my own personal CIA. I don't know why this isn't the biggest story in America right now. This is ridiculous. This is insanity. And then you also want to have, a deep state war going on. Is that what people want? We're going to have this intelligence arm that's only answering to the president versus this other intelligence arm that's kind of off on its own, being undemocratic in its own respect. And we're going to, the violence that could be caused as a result of this, our institutions are already crumbling. They've been crumbling for decades. This is only just, speeding up the process, putting it on steroids. The CIA probably shouldn't exist in its current state. And now they're saying, let's add another CIA that's only going to answer to Trump. And then they're not going to abide by any rules, any laws. They're admitting it. They're saying it up front. We're going to kidnap people who we don't like, who we think should be kidnapped. We're going to take down other officials in the government. I mean, this is really, really scary stuff, man. And the private army Christian fundamentalist guy, who should be in prison, by the way. He should be in prison. It's been proven that Blackwater massacred civilians. And didn't care. The Nisour Square massacre. Didn't care. Tried to cover it up. These are the guys that Trump says, yeah, all the way. Remember, Eric Prince, this is the guy who is floating a plan. Oh, we should privatize the war in Afghanistan. What? Privatize the war in Afghanistan. It's already bad enough now not being privatized. Then you want to privatize it and give an entire group of armed fundamentalists in Afghanistan monetary reason to continue the fight going. So you want to make war even more profitable than it already is with the military-industrial complex and people getting very rich. Like Smedley Butler said, war is a racket. Defense contractors getting rich off of building more weapons of death and then selling them around the world and watching people kill each other. Now they're saying, let's have a mercenary army, a private army that cares about profit, that's in Afghanistan with a bunch of Christian fundamentalists. Are you? And by the way, very few outlets are even discussing this. The Intercept did a great job here. Jeremy Scahill did a great job here. And it's just amazing that the stories that are really huge scandals, this is a giant deal. Trump's trying to create his own SS. They don't get any coverage. It's little to no coverage. When it's a policy issue, when it's a real scandal about the further rotting from the inside out of our institutions, whatever. We don't want to talk about that. It's really pathetic, and we're in very scary times.